Hey, so this is your good friend and certified public accountant, Ray Wilburn. And, excuse me. Delicious. One thing I wanted to talk to everybody about today was, let me give you a little bit of a brief reason why I'm doing this video. I just watched a movie called Dance Movie with Damon Wayans Jr. Pretty funny, pretty silly. The kid looks a lot like his father, Damon Wayans, and anytime you see a Wayans movie, you know that Mrs. Wayans had a lot of kids, and then Mrs. Wayans' kids had a lot of kids. So that made me think about the qualified, the IRS's definition for a qualifying child. Now, this affects, if you're going for the child tax credit, the child dependent care credit, or the earned income tax credit. These are all affected by what a qualifying child is, or if you're going to just use a standard exemption on your taxes. So the name of the game is always to reduce your tax liability, shove it away, delay it, or make it go away completely so that you have no tax liability and all your income is yours. So knowing the definition of a qualifying child is very important. Okay, so there's 4 tests that you have to pass in order for a kid to be your qualifying child. So we've got relationship, residence, support, and age. So let's knock them out. So the relationship means, what is this kid to you? So it has to be your child, your stepchild, by blood or adoption, your foster child, your sibling or step-sibling, or descendant of your sibling or step-sibling. Okay, or if you're raising your grandkid, that's also part of the relationship test. So it can be a descendant of your child, stepchild, foster child, sibling, or step-sibling. Okay, whether by blood or adoption. So remember that. That's your first test. If the kid qualifies as one of these, move on to test 2. Next is residence. They've got to be living with you for more than half of the tax year. So for more than 6 months, 6 months and a day, and that kid, passes the residence test. Now, there's exceptions for divorced parents who are sharing custody. If you're divorced, so let's say I was divorced and my wife kept the kids for 7 months, she can sign a form to me saying that I can claim the child as a dependent. Okay. If the kid was kidnapped, if there was a temporary absence, kid went to jail or a juvenile detention center, they weren't with you for more than half of the year, but when they came out, you provided the qualifying support. That's the next test, that you can still qualify them. Now again, I'm giving you the general rules in your specific situation. If you have a specific situation and you don't know, then you can email me. My email and all my information is at the end of this video. You email me very specific questions and I'll answer you specifically, but this is general. Age. Kids got to be under 19 years old unless they're in school. If they're in school, if they're in school for full time more than 5 months out of the year, they can be up to 24 years old. Okay, there's a lot of that now. Kids are staying at home with mom and dad, so there'll be more of that. But remember, 19 is the cutoff, unless they're in school full time for more than 5 months. Okay, so that's the age qualification. Or if God forbid you have a child that's developmentally disabled, that's an exemption to the age qualification, because that person can't care for themselves. Finally, support. You got to provide over half of the support for that dependent for that tax year. So in 2009, did you provide more than half of the support for that child? If you hit all 4 of those, relationship, residence, age, and support, that's a qualifying child. Let's say, hypothetically, that somebody, you have a kid, you want to claim him as a dependent, and somebody else wants to claim that child as a dependent. We're going to talk about trump. Now, for those of you that know about playing spades, in spades, depending on where you're playing, either you're playing joker, joker, deuce, deuce, and the joker is the high card or the trump, or you're playing deuce, ace, and the deuce is the trump card. It's the highest card. It beats them all. So if two people are vying to claim a child as a dependent, the person that files first really wins. Okay, so file your returns timely, and you win. But if there are more than one person claiming, claiming a child as a dependent, and they want to claim that exemption, whatever, the parent always wins. So you marry somebody that has a child, that parent is always going to win. They're going to be able to claim the child as a dependent, and if it's your stepchild and it's the person's biological child, you're going to lose. It's their dependent. Otherwise, it's the person that has, basically it sums up to the person with the highest adjusted gross income, and I'll do a video about that. Somebody remind me. I'll do a video on what adjusted gross income is, and gross income, net income, adjusted gross income, modified adjusted gross income. I'll do a video about all of those, but just somebody send me an email and remind me. Either the person that the child lived with the longest during the year and had the highest AGI, or the person just with the highest AGI is the trump. Okay? So, as a wrap-up, remember, for your qualifying child, there are 4 tests that have to be that you have to make sure you check the box for each of these 4 things. Age, 19 or younger unless they're in school, then it's 24, or if they're developmentally disabled or permanently disabled, there's no age test. So there's age, there's residence, okay? That person needs to live with you for more than half of the year. There's relationship, that person needs to be your child, your adopted child, your stepchild, your step-sibling, or your sibling, or a descendant of one of those, okay? So your daughter's daughter can be your dependent. That's a relationship test. And then finally there is support. You have to provide more than half of the support for that tax year. So remember, relationship, residence, age, support. And remember, the person who files first wins. If not, it's going to be the parent, and if both are parents, it's going to be the person with the highest AGI, or the person that the kid lived with for the longest time. So there you go, qualifying child. That's the general gist of the qualifying, the definition, the things you have to meet in order for a child to be your qualifying child, and that affects the child tax credit, the child dependent and care credit, the earned income tax credit, and it also allows you to claim exemptions for your children. So there you go, and your good friend and CPA is now leaving the building. Take care and God bless.